Vibes of Cosmos, yesterday on the 2nd of October, links below in the description box, has published the extended craters guide map. The moon, as you know, the moon shows the map of the world with the known continents. This circle here is the Antarctic Treaty with Lemuria and Atlantis, and the forbidden continents, Pangaea. So the dark bit are firm land continents, and the light blue is the oceans, and the craters on the bottom of the ocean. There's also craters on the surface of the lands. In this case, nothing is mirrored. So you see here the moon as it is, so the darker bit are lands and the white bit are oceans, and it's not inverted, so it's easier to follow. Look at this quality, 200 megabytes. You see the continents and the craters and the lands, and so the known continents and the forbidden continents, Narnia and Middle Earth, and with details, 200 megabytes. The craters on the bottom of the ocean, so it's water, and on the bottom the craters, but there's also craters on the lands. For example, like in Asia, you see these craters here. This is Asia, and you see these craters. These are like craters smaller on the top of the surface of the continent, and Africa and everything else. Let's dive into the details. So I've left the links below the description box in the video to the online store shop of Vibes of Cosmos, so you can check it out if you want to buy it. If it wasn't for Vibes of Cosmos, my life would be very boring. So, a guide for an observer, it says here. This map is as the moon appears in the sky. This is supreme. Of course, beyond this, the map of Mars, if you go in a straight line, there's more continents and more oceans. But because we see the map of the moon, we see the moon every day on the sky, when it's clear sky, then let's focus on this world, the known world and the forbidden world. So, this map is as the moon appears and not mirrored. To act as a guide in case someone with a very good camera or a telescope observes the craters of the moon. With this map, someone will be able to know about each crater, what it is and where. And that's awesome, because as you can see here, it's not mirrored. So now we see the clear difference between what is firm land and continent and what is oceans. Look at how many craters on the bottom of the ocean, and look at this. I'm going to show you something here. So this circle here is what we call the Antarctic Treaty. Now, we have Asia, Europe, West Africa, North Africa, Africa, Middle East, North America with Greenland, South America, this is where the USA is, and Australia. And Lemuria is here and Atlantis is here. Before you go into, and this is the Antarctic Treaty, before you go into mental diarrhea, this is the scale. So, in kilometers and miles, this here, from 0 to here, this is 2,500 kilometers. So the fifth rectangle, the fifth portion is 500 kilometers. Now, if you zoom out, you can see here how tiny this is, and you see it on the full map. So if you go here, let's try to see if I can manage to put it at the same time. Lemuria, the closest land between Lemuria and the known world is Russia with the Sea of Okhotsk, and there's lots of military there, and the Solomon Islands. Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands. Now, if you manage to go in a straight line without being interfered, let me know, from Solomon Islands and from Papua New Guinea to Lemuria. So, if you see, for example, let's say from the Solomon Islands, this here, it's pretty much 500 kilometers or less, but who goes from the Solomon Islands with military and with camera and with everything, with technology, to film in a straight line? No one. So, you can ask the questions why. So if you go, let's see if I can do this. Yeah. So if you take like the fifth portion of this here, it will be about 500 kilometers to Lemuria and about 1,000 kilometers from the sea, from this area of Russia through the Sea of Okhotsk to Lemuria, about 1,000 kilometers. And of course from West Africa to Amazonia, which is part of Atlantis, pretty much it would probably be another about 1,000 kilometers from the coast here. So yeah, 500 kilometers and 1,000 kilometers is not something easy in a world where it's full of military and you're not allowed to go with proper ships and airplanes. I mean proper ships and airplanes, not your like boat at a tiny wave you get on the bottom of the ocean. Now, check this out. This is like West Africa. So, of course, from Africa, and this is like the poor countries in Africa, you know, Sierra Leone, Guinea, Senegal, Gambia, very poor countries. So, you get to Atlantis, and then between Atlantis and Pangaea, which is Travista, there's a huge ocean, which is the Kronos Ocean, and this huge crater is on the bottom of the Kronos Ocean. And check this out. Do you see something? Narnia world. Now you know where the map of Narnia and the famous books and movies comes from. Narnia is part of this region of Pangaea Travista, which is called between Ultaria and Icprea, and this is the world of Narnia. The world of Narnia, and it's a Narnia world, Narnia. And this is where Narnia would be. And then let's go further beyond in Pangaea Travista to the west, and we go to the west and north, so northwest. And from Narnia world, we get to, which is even more favorite, Middle Earth, the world of the Lord of the Rings. So you know where the authors of Narnia and Lord of the Rings, where they took their maps from. The moon that shows the Earth explained in the other books of the Cosmos, and it's actually here. It's like the bits and pieces of the Pangaea or Travista continent. And this is where Middle Earth. It says here in the age of Leo, 12,000 years before. So if you know the movement of the ages with the electromagnetic sun. And Mordor. Mordor is here. Mordor. Gerard crater in the Sea of Nurnen in Mordor. And then we have Harondor and Gretoras, and it's the Middle Earth world. So this is Middle Earth. And what else can I say? This is Pangaea. We have like more continents here. Oh yeah, this is Fuego, which means fire. So this is like the real like the continent of fire. And let's see if I can, there was more text here, so you can say, look at this. If you go further beyond, there's like more continents here, which are like less color, so less intense color, which means that probably they have more water. West Patalia and Patalia. And it says here, guide from an observer. The further south we go, sure, like it says south because this has to be mirrored. If you mirror it, then up is south, right? But let's see. The further south we go, further out, the bigger the size of the submarine craters, the underwater craters on the bottom of the oceans. Imagine that here the size of a crater is bigger than Europe. Oh my the gods! Looking at the southern ends, we are looking out of our field of view. At the moon, there is the field of Mars, so the electromagnetic field of Mars, which gets imprinted in the electromagnetism, and then of course there's more continents and more oceans, and that's what the map of Mars shows, which includes our own, the field of Earth. There are even bigger craters, as we can see in the map of Mars, which we've seen before. Let's see if there's more text here. Something text. Look at the size of this crater. Babaj, extra huge and deep underwater crater by the ancient gods of creation, genetists and human genetics. There's no more text here. There's a huge crater. There's Humbo Island. I'm trying to see if there's any other text like the ones we've seen before. Oh, look at the size of these craters. So many craters. Freinbof, Reita, on the bottom of the ocean. And of course there's more continents here, more firm lands and islands. Antonio Islands. Nothing else. External Craters Guide Map by the Cosmos. Okay, so that's pretty much the only guide we have there on rectangles here. Now, let's go to, of course, here, for example, let me use an example of craters on the surface of the continents and on the bottom of the ocean. So this is the Americas, the USA. Look at this. The USA, let's go to South America, it's easier. Look, in South America, between Brazil and Argentina, crater Rosse, Rosie, whatever you want to spell that. In Brazil is Pantagal Rio Negro National Park, Lake Titicaca, National de Junin Park in Peru, Dojao Park in Amazon, Gun Reservoir area in Venezuela. So you see, these huge craters are national parks on the surface of the continent. And then, of course, if we go to, for example, here, the Chile Basin, underwater, on the bottom of the ocean, the major crater. Let's see. Let's see the seas. For example, see here, crater Plinius is Black Sea, and Black Sea is in Europe, between Europe and Russia. Crater Dawes or Dawes is Caspian Sea, right? Another crater. So this is for you to understand. Crater Basel is in the area of Tibesti in North Chad in Africa. Waza National Park in South Chad and North Cameroon. So the craters on the surface of the continents with their own names as national parks or whatever, and then the craters on the bottom of the oceans with their names as well. There's like a famous crater Tion Senior in North Atlantic is underwater south from Greenland, right? So many craters in the USA and Canada. For those of you, Red Desert here, Great Salt Lake as a crater, Lake Winnipeg as a crater of water on the surface of the continent in Canada. I don't know, Mexico, Panama, etc. Now, what else I wanted to show you? Oh yes, look at this. This is like Argentina and south of Argentina. So this is Ushuaia, which is well known for being like the last bit of earth, right, in the modern world. So this is Ushuaia. So from Ushuaia, this is where you would say, if you would be allowed to go in a straight line from Ushuaia, Argentina, or Punta Arenas, Chile, in a straight line here, this is where you would get to Antarctica, right? It would be the first land, the big continent, which is like the new land of fire, right? Because if you go in a straight line, here, you just go on the ocean. And there's nothing else, just ocean. But of course, because you go outside of the Antarctic Treaty, then it's probably lots of ice, right? So yeah, it's... and then of course, let's go to Australia, because it's like at the end of this world. Australia, look at this, Australia. So Australia and New Zealand. If you go from Australia and New Zealand, you go in a straight line, but you can't, and you would get to the West Ireland and East Ireland. Or if you go from Australia this way, go in a straight line, but it's a huge amount of water to go to. This is like New Caledonia and Vanuatu, from the West Pacific, Tuvalu, Fiji. You see all these like these areas, the French Polynesia. That's why you never see someone going from Russia in a straight line to New Zealand, or like from Russia to French Polynesia. There's always like these weird patterns that the ships and the airplanes are taking. They're surrounding the continents because, let's be honest, 500 kilometers is a lot of distance. And it's easy that's why this world we live in, you go to an airport and a harbor or a port, and there's specific lines of travel with airplanes and with ships, and you as a civilian, you're not allowed to explore the oceans and to go in a straight line as you wish. You have to accept the conditions imposed upon you by the authorities. So yeah, this was just like an interaction. This for me, along with the map of Mars, but first the map of Mars is like more because we don't know, we're not allowed to explore. But this for me, because we see this on the sky every single day, especially in the days of summer when you see the moon all the time, and the moon does not change. And because it's not mirrored, it's easier for you because we see the moon always the same time, because it doesn't spin, it's just there. So because it's not mirrored, now it's easier for us to understand, okay, so this is the known world with the continents where we live, the Antarctic Treaty, and Lemurian Atlantis, and then the Pangaea continent, Lord of the Rings, Mordor, and Narnia, and the oceans and everything, and the distances, and now we understand where we live. So what we are, who created us. This is so fascinating, and like I said, super ultra mega. We're gonna see more about this. This was like a general introduction, and the video is like already too long, so I'm not gonna stop too much here. But thanks, Vibes of Cosmos. I mean, the amount of work they did, this is like worth millions of dollars in terms of like if you had like to make it in like a movie, or like study at super university level like Harvard or Princeton or Oxford or Cambridge, or I don't know, like Stanford or whatever. Nobody studies this. Like, let's be honest. What these guys did is beyond my understanding and my knowledge and my capabilities as a human being. So I truly appreciate it. And the cost of this map, of this package, was almost $10. €8 because they're from Greece. So about $9.50, almost $10. Imagine. See you in the next video. Let's go. What do you want? Do you want Mordor? Let's go to Mordor. Here, Mordor, Middle Earth. Look at this. Lavoisier is Lake Evendim in the middle of Eriador and Arnor. I love this. Harding is Sea of Rune in Rovanion. Oh man, I just can't imagine what kind of humanities live there. See you in the next video.